I'm gonna show you sport one more time, because it's starting to rain and thundering a little bit, and he's down here. See, he's really shaking, and so I wish I could quiet his tremor and soul, but I can't. I wonder sometimes how he got so afraid of the thunder. He's right here at my feet. He wants to be close to me because that's why he's here. But I can't do anything to cure him. I've already tried, but it reminds me of a poem. Well, it's actually called a Quoist style prayer. The guy's last name is Quoist, Quoist, and I'm gonna read this. I wrote this when I was a substitute teacher. I was going to graduate school. I was substituting, for money, substitute teaching. And that's when I wrote this. I call it noise, quiet, fear, and love. I am a substitute teacher. My students today are good. They don't make noise. They don't bother me. They let me write. Angela Davis, she just turned in her paper with a smile. She walked back to her seat. She resumed a quiet conversation with a friend. I am a teacher afraid of noise. So what about it? I can handle the noise. But noise means little production, little control, little respect, little discipline. I'm a substitute teacher. I'm a substitute. I come and go without much noise. Perhaps I am afraid of the noise of an angry faculty person, the noise of my own conscience, the noise of threat, the noise of fear, the noise of job security. There sure is a lot of noise. I like the quiet. Quiet means production, control, respect, discipline. There is a time for quiet and for noise. Sometimes I raise my voice. Quiet down, I say. But what if I said, louden up? I'm searching. I don't really know what noise means, do I? I don't really know what quiet means, do I? I only know what fear means. It is neither noise nor quiet. Perhaps fear is central. Lower the noise. Increase concentration. Wear a smile. Be kind to me. Be good to the social order. Fit in. Prepare yourself for fear. The fear of wrath. The fear of disenfranchisement. The fear of chaotic isolation. This is movement away from noise, but it is not quiet. You hear it? The Lord quiet me. Draw me away from fear toward love. Love is central. Love is not impelled by fear. Love does not flee to the quiet. It is not movement away from as much as it is movement toward the beloved. Quiet me, charm me, and draw me into the quiet of your love. You know, C.S. Eliot, said that the still point of the turning world is where the dance is. And it seems to me he had some kind of a Hindu kind of approach to things. He says to go into the darkness of God. Like I got my phone on my stand for my notes for practicing my guitar, and Sports laying right up against it, and so he's shaking. So his whole video is going to be like rocking back and forth because that's what he's doing. Sometimes it's real hard to settle down and go into the quiet of love. And love is, a hard thing to figure out. You just have to go into the quiet of love and be content. Find a contentment for your soul. It would be a wonderful thing if two people, come together and the one can quiet the other. And it seems in my mind that well, I don't know. We have to go into the darkness sometimes, and sometimes going into the darkness can be a fearful, a frightening thing. But we all go into the darkness, and in the final analysis, stop this from shaking so much. In the final analysis, I used to listen to this program when I was coming home from work late at night. I was still in high school, working at a restaurant, and evening I would close and be driving home, and it'd be midnight, and I think that's when this program always came on called Night Sounds. And I remember one broadcast in particular when the guy said, in the final analysis, we're all alone. And so there's a stillness in that. Just like, when people die, they go into that dark place, and they go into that stillness, and they're getting ready to die, especially. They're getting ready to exit this body. And You know, my prayer for myself and my prayer for you, my prayer for all beings, and more particularly, the people I love, the animals I love, the world that I love, creation that I love, to go into a dark place and dance. You'll find your peace there. So, sometimes, hope can be hope for the wrong thing. Love can be love for the wrong thing. But, hope and love, we come to upon awakening, and it's always important to go into the dark places and the still places and to find your dance. You'll be content. It'll be real. They say most everybody that I've ever listened to who really contemplates, the subject of, love, is that that's where we return to. And, to know warmth, you have to freeze. Sometimes life is painful. Saying goodbye is painful. I remember one time it hit me real hard. I would have to go to my father's in the summertime, and I didn't really like the change, because in the summertime, that's when I wanted to have fun with my friends. But I had to go to my father's house in the summertime, and it was a tearing. It tore me apart. It tore me. I was being, torn away from my friends at the time when I really wanted to share time with them. I didn't have all the obligations of school and everything. But then I left my father, and I get, on the airplane. It's on a jet. They take me to the O'Hara Airport in Chicago, and we'd walk there, and we'd see the Hare Krishna guys, and different people in the airport, and time was coming close, and have to say goodbye. I remember getting on that airplane, and I was getting choked up as I was walking down the corridor. And when I got in my seat, I broke down, man. I broke down, and my heart started crumbling. Saying goodbye to my dad. I've experienced my life, being torn apart, uh, you know, many times ever since I was little, and I come to understand early on that it is true. In the final analysis, we're alone. Uh, you know, my advice is to try to make life fun, but it's in the pain that you gain an appreciation for life. Uh, I mean, when I put that knife into my neck, it wasn't easy for me to do that. That was a lot of pain, a lot of threat, a lot of fear. I couldn't enter into the dance. I couldn't enter into the still point of the turning world. I wanted to enter into the still point of the turning world. I thought, dying was the only actual way to do that. But I've crossed that bridge, and now I want to live. I know what it is going to dark places. And what do you learn when you go into them dark places? The only wisdom that we can ever hope to find in this life is the wisdom of humility. Well, there's a lot to be said here, but I don't really have the words to take you deep into anything more than what I've already said. The only thing I know is that it's a journey, and every night it gets dark. Every night we sleep, we go into the dark, and then we wake up, and in our waking conscious we live this experience. But you have to remember that we're always going to go into the dark, one way or the other. And I hope for you, when you go into those dark places, as I hope for myself, remind myself, there you'll find the dance. There would be no music if there was no silence. So, at the still point of the turning world, find your peace and be. All right, bye.